Hello, I'd like to pick up on where we left off last week. All of these wonderful things we tell ourselves, and actually maybe say it out loud as well. Things like, I'm not a writer. I'm dyslexic. I don't have anything original to say. Why would people read my book? I mean, my audience isn't big enough yet, so why am I writing a book? I'm not confident in my English or my grammar. Any of those sound familiar? Well, let me take you through the first one. I'm not a writer. Oh boy, that was my exact quote. A few years ago, a friend of mine had signed up to do one of these contributory books. You know, you write a chapter in a book, you hand it over to the publisher, everybody joins in and does the marketing, and it hits bestseller, usually, if everybody comes on board and does the work. Well, my friend sadly wasn't very well, and she said, look, I can't fulfill the contract. There's a timeline on it. I'm not well enough. You do it. I'm not asking you to pay me anything. Just get on and do it. And my response, I'm not a writer. I'm a speaker. I'm not a writer. Do you know what she said to me? I don't care what you call yourself. Just do it. Well, that certainly taught me a thing or two. Okay, what am I telling myself? I told myself I wasn't a writer. She challenged that. I challenged it then with myself and went, okay, this is an opportunity. Let's see if I can do it. And I did. And yes, I became part of a book that was a #1 international bestseller. And then I did it again. Only this second time, I was curating it. So we pulled in 13 different authors from 6 different countries. So the first book came out in January 2023. The Mad book, Making a Difference, Ways to Magnify Abundance, Vitality and Freedom, came out in August 2023. And then last year, in December 24, I was involved in another contributory book, again, an international bestseller. Why am I telling you this? Because it starts with those things we tell ourselves. Now, you may be thinking, oh, that's all good and well, Wendy, those were contributory books. So you had lots of people involved, and that it was a journey that you took together with other people. Well, you're right. It was. But if you're contemplating writing your own book solo, I can tell you that can be lonely. But that's where, when I was doing my first solo book, which came out in June 2025, I had the Promise to Page group that I was running. I had 3 other people who were contributing to the feedback on my book. So I know this process works, because guess what? It was an international bestseller on my own. It wasn't a contributory book. So it can be done, is what I'm telling you there. Okay, let's think about that. I'm dyslexic. Well, there's an awful lot of people for whom that is true. But it doesn't stop you being a writer. Oh, but I get muddled with my words and I can't spell. And my point to that is, have you got one of these? You got a phone? Then speak to it. All of them these days have a voice recorder on it. You've got a voice recorder on your phone, on your computer. You can speak out your ideas. And then you can get a transcription done. There are various apps these days that you can easily get voice to text transcriptions. And then you give it to an editor. They can do the work for you of organising it, because I absolutely get it. The dyslexia doesn't only affect your spelling, it also affects your organisation very often. So that's where you employ an editor, and hello, you've got a polished book that you have written. They've done a little bit of tweaks around the edges, but they've done it with you, and that's your book. So if you are sitting there going, oh, I'm dyslexic, I can't write, So what? You can. There are workarounds. Okay, what was the next thing? I've got nothing original to say. There are so many people who are in the same area as me. Okay, let's take the example of leadership. There are myriads of books on leadership, and yet more and more are coming out every day. Why? Because there's a market. Everybody's book addresses something slightly different. And I'm going to warrant that your story, your special sauce, your wisdom is lived experience. And nobody else has had your lived experience. Nobody else has had that messy bit. You've gone through the messy middle and you've come out the other side. And it's that wisdom that your audience is dying to hear. So please don't leave them hanging. You have got something really important to say. The topic may not be original, but your version, your twist on it, your special sauce is. It's original to you. Tick that box. Okay, why would people read my book? Chris said, you've got wisdom. You've got stuff to share. And people are hungry for practical, down-to-earth, lived experience, the wisdom of people who've been there already. You've gone through the minefield. They don't want to. You've been blown up a couple of times. You know your way through. And they're going, do I want to get blown up or do I want to read somebody else's book to see the roadmap? So the more practical you can make it. Hello, yes, people would like to read your book. In fact, they're waiting for it. Don't hang around. Your audience isn't big enough yet. Oh, my audience, I've only got a few people that I know at the moment. But that's where the marketing comes in. That's where, yes, you write your book. And then, as somebody was telling me yesterday, yep, that's when the work begins. Because you've got to let people know about it. Because otherwise, you genuinely will be the world's best kept secret. Cliche though it is, you have to let people know you have a book. But I tell you what, if you keep a copy of it all the time, you go to a networking meeting. I've even sold books at the dentist because they said, oh, what have you been up to? Oh, we had a book launch last week. You're an author? Oh, hello. Credibility bump up. That's another thing. People like to know that you're an author. It gives you that sense of credibility, authority. Yes, you may have a small audience at the moment, but I can guarantee you, you have a book out, you put author on your LinkedIn profile, you start talking about the wisdom that's in your book, and people go, oh, where can I get it? Hello. That's where your audience builds up. Think about it. It may be small to start with, but you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. One brick upon another. The last one I've got on the list of things that people tell me is, I'm not confident in English. I'm a bad speller. My grammar's all over the place. Well, how many apps are available these days for checking just that? Now, I would caution you on that because sometimes, particularly on the grammar side of things, Word little app gets it wrong, and sometimes spectacularly. Now, if you have a background in linguistics and language like I do, then it's easy to spot those errors. If you don't, and that is something that concerns you, again, you ask for an editor. You seek out an editor, or if not an editor, at least a proofreader. Because one of the things we find is that when we write something down, we read it again, we read what we know we've written, which may not be what's on the screen or the book that you've written it in. So a proofreader is really important because they don't have the prior knowledge. They're coming at it cold, if you will. Now, why am I telling you all of these things? Because these questions, these things you've been telling yourself, these stories may resonate with you. And I trust that I've begun to unpack those a bit for you. Now, the Promise to Page group that I'm talking about, as I mentioned to start with, I've actually been through it myself, so I know it works, is something that you go along with other people. It's capped at 4 people. So you get to know each other very well. You get that vulnerability, you get that accountability, and you have other people who are cheering you on. So it's not lonely. You've got other people around. You've got that momentum going. You've got the credibility of other people cheering you on. And at the end, you've got people who already know your book. They can be writing reviews for you so that as you publish it, you've already got reviews to put up on Amazon. Ha! Can you see how powerful this group is? If this interests you, or indeed if any of those stories that you've been telling yourself, if you can relate to any of those ones that I've just mentioned, and you want to get rid of them, get some momentum going on your book, message me. Let's talk. Let's see whether From Promise to Page is a right fit for you. For now, though, bye from me.